John Irwin Horrocks was born in Johnstown, Pennsylvania on December 14, 1878, to John Henry and Rebecca Jeannie Horrocks. He was a middle child to an older brother Harry and a younger sister Nancy. John was still a young boy when the family relocated to Washington State, settling on a homestead at Gravelly Lake near Tacoma, Washington. John was a shy, studious, and hard-working young man, and after high school he attended night school and special study to become a civil engineer specializing in railroad construction. Letty Jane Agnew was born in Cedar County, Iowa, to James and Amanda Agnew. Mr. Agnew was a self-employed contractor that built houses in the Tacoma area. Letty was a very confident young lady, ambitious and willing to tend to business, very independent, a lady ahead of her time. John and Letty were married at her parents' house in Tacoma in 1902. John's first job was with the Northern Pacific Railroad Company, where he worked with his brother, Harry. John was a transit man and assistant engineer with the survey crew. His next job was with the Milwaukee Railroad that has started its expansion to the Pacific Coast. John's experience as a construction engineer in the Bitterroot Mountains gained him his experience in tunnel construction, but his performance in rebuilding a large portion of the rail line that was damaged in the Great Bitterroot, Montana Forest Fire of 1908 earned him the job that was to become the pinnacle of his career. He was appointed Chief Construction Engineer of the Snoqualmie Tunnel that was constructed between 1911 and 1915. Letty was always by her husband's side, serving as postmistress of the post offices in these railroad construction towns from Montana to Washington State. Her last appointment was as postmistress of Rockdale, Washington's post office at the western portal of the Snoqualmie Tunnel. John's completion of the Snoqualmie Tunnel without a loss of one human life was considered to be quite a feat in that day and age and was praised in the newspapers. It was about this time that Horrocks made an offer to buy the Qualley Farm near Tolt, Washington, on the Everett line of the Chicago, Milwaukee, St. Paul and Pacific Railroad Company. John had a railroad spur constructed near his farm to store his construction equipment, and he left railroad employment and set about building a model dairy farm. The two large red silos and modern dairy barn made this a state-of-the-art farm, a modern dairy in every way. The Horrocks became very involved in the civic matters of their new community. John was very involved in the Masonic Lodge in Falls City, Washington. The passion to be dairy farmers evidently was short-lived, and the Horrocks sold off the majority of their farm, keeping only 4 acres that contained the 2 houses, 2 ponds, and the beautiful gardens. The large portion of the farm was segregated off and eventually became under the ownership of the Peterson family that operated it as a dairy for years. The Horrocks started a long tradition of spending almost every winter in the Hawaiian Islands, but as much as they loved the islands, they always had a special fondness for their home in a town that was now called Carnation, Washington. It was a special place where they could entertain family and friends. The grounds were kept in immaculate condition, the grass cut by real-type mowers. The ponds were fed by a water system that originated on Griffin Creek with a diversion dam, a water right that was attained by the Qualley family that first settled this area. Letty would spend countless hours tending to her garden. Letty passed away in 1964, and John passed away in 1966. Unfortunately, this began a period of decline of the estate that fell into disrepair. But that wasn't the end of the story. The new owners, Larry and Brigitte Lindvig, have revived this grand old place into a modern winery, producing award-winning wines and restoring the grounds and buildings to their former glory. When it was determined an additional winery would be needed for the winery operation, great emphasis was made to ensure that the design and look of this new building would complement the existing buildings. Pleasant Hill Cellars is a place where people can still come and enjoy the natural beauty of this area, much as the Horrocks envisioned over 100 years ago.